Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, we ask that you kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices or place them on silent. Thank you.
For those who know it, please join with me in the words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. For everything there is a season, and a time for every experience under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what's been planted. To tear down and to build up. To cry and to laugh. To grieve and to dance. To throw stones and to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. To keep close and to discard, to tear and to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. In these last years of Golda's life, her children and family endured the unique loss and pain that comes with diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's. What one writer calls a dripping death of the soul. For Jeff and Janet and their families, in a sense they lost her a very long time ago, but continued loving and caring for her in the midst of their loss. It is a terrible thing to love what death can touch. I only met Golda through my conversations with her children. And as I listen to their words, three thoughts come to my mind about Golda. First, she loved her Norman and them very deeply. The image of Golda and Norman holding hands throughout their 62 years together is nothing but beautiful. What a gift it was to them to grow up around parents who so loved and cared for one another. Second, she had a deep and innate sense of right and wrong. She gave the benefit of the doubt throughout, especially to people she loved, and was deeply, deeply respectful of everyone on her path. And third, she loved to learn and learn and learn throughout her life. And as a language arts and reading teacher later in life, she became certified in the renowned Wilson reading system. No easy feat. Vocabulary, narrative, word recognition, writing, reading, and being a student herself. For as long as her senses let her, she never sat on her laurels. She learned and learned and learned. She loved, she was a mensch, and she was the eternal student. What beautiful gifts she leaves behind to those who loved her. What beautiful gifts. To Janet and to Jeff and your families, you surrounded her with such love and care, but you came to it naturally, for from her heart and her mind, she shared so generously all that life shared with her. Let's hear now from her children, from Janet and Jeff, and then we'll hear from Rachel, who I believe is representing a few people at the end. So we'll hear from Janet and Jeff and then Rachel.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for watching, those of you who are at home. She would be thrilled that we're all together. We have babies and friends and family and puppy, and this is a perfect send-off for her. So thank you for being a part of it. So, my mom was there by my side for every life event, big and small. Birthdays, bar mitzvahs, Thanksgiving, seders, but also t-ball games, zoo trips, movie night at my house, sales at Steinmart, or just because we brought in Chinese food, or she and my dad were passing my house on the way home from the swim club. She was my sounding board, my moral compass, and a best friend. Oh, sorry. Even though I lost her bit by bit for years, this final loss of her is palpable, heavy, and heartbreaking. To my mom, every interaction was special and had potential to be a memory maker. A typical day trip to the beach with us included multiple huge bags holding sandcastle forms, shovels, pails, paint sets, books, extra sunscreen, and of course, enough food for a week. A simple car trip with the kids would invariably include gleeful singing, word games, riddles, and storytelling. Maybe it's because her father died when she was in her 30s. Maybe because her mother had Alzheimer's and she was worried it was coming for her, so she wanted us to find maximum joy together. I'm so very grateful she left us with so many cherished memories. And I feel so fortunate to have had her in my life as long as I did. I'm good. Unfortunately, I don't think I really appreciated or understood her until I was an adult. I remember one day she came home from teaching and threw herself on the couch begging for a quick 15-minute nap. I don't think I even gave her that long before talking to her. It didn't occur to me that she was working full-time, making our daily meals from scratch, with 2 vegetables, mind you, and waiting until bedtime so family time wouldn't be impacted. To begin cleaning, laundry, grading, and lesson plans often until 2 or 3 a.m., just to wake up at dawn and do it all over again. I was too stupid to notice why she was tired, too stupid to pitch in and help. And I don't remember her complaining or asking for help. I know why. Her devotion to her family was everything to her. And our happiness, needs, troubles, and victories took precedence over her own. Selfless is a good way to describe her, especially when it came to my dad. One time he was in the hospital and she was worried he wouldn't make it, so she promised God she would keep kosher if he was allowed to survive. My mother kept that kosher promise for decades. Around the same time as he became sicker, she also began attending weekly Torah study and even became a bat mitzvah, overcoming her difficulty learning foreign language. I suspect that she was really just upping the ante on her promises to keep my dad alive. She was superstitious, but she wasn't a pushover and she had limits and rules she lived by. Let me explain. When I was growing up, my mom wanted the best for me, and although she did loosen up later on in life, she was old-fashioned and proper when I was young. No to R-rated movies, no to junk food, no to a later bedtime. You get the picture. Anyway, I would cry, shout, slam doors with I hate yous, and my mother would not engage. Ever. My mother never lost her temper. Not that I can remember, and I don't think I ever heard her yell. She had codes she lived by, which shaped my outlook and interactions to this day. I want to share them with you so maybe she can continue to change other hotheads who see the world in black and white into ones who see the beauty of living in the gray areas. Rule number 1, nobody's right 100% of the time. You may think you're right, but so does the other person. Step back, check your temper, let it marinate, and try to understand the other person's point of view before you react, because you can never take back unkind words. Rule number 2, if the choice is to be right or to be kind, choose kind. Everybody's fighting battles unknown to you. Give people the benefit of the doubt, give them a win, and look for the good in them. Rule number 3, never say never. Don't give up hope. And certainly don't ever give up on the people you love. People can change and are worth fighting for and waiting for. Rule number 4, if someone apologizes, you have to forgive them. It's the rule. These were not empty platitudes. They embody who my mother was. The woman never struggled over moral dilemmas or doing or saying the wrong thing, because her words were carefully chosen and her choices were always clear. So although she's gone, my mom will always be with me. Her model for analytically approaching conflict, her empathy and undeterred optimism, her work ethic, selflessness, and devotion are with me every single day, guiding my decisions and my interactions. The woman is in my head. I look in the mirror and I see her face. I hear her laugh in mine. And for that, I'm grateful beyond words. Thank you, Mom. Thank you.
So my mother was not a stubborn person, but she had a very gentle persistence. Sometimes subtle, sometimes not. It was never about herself, it was always about others. And she had a very difficult time accepting the word no. No to her meant maybe, and with a little work, maybes would become a yes. It didn't matter what it was. If she went to the store looking to buy a dress for a granddaughter, she needed to have the right size, they didn't have this color. Next thing you know is she would be with the salesperson calling all the other stores in South Jersey to find out who had the right color, right store. And you just couldn't tell her no. She wouldn't accept that. And so I'm reminded, not only was she a wonderful teacher, obviously taught kids in school, she was helped kids who couldn't read. She also tutored adults, immigrants that came over through the Jewish Federation. She would work with them to teach them English and to help them read English. She worked with kids from outside of school. And I'm reminded of an event where she worked with a 10-year-old boy through foster care. The kid had a very as most kids in foster care do, had a very sad and unhappy childhood up to that point. And that was not sitting well with my mother, not on her watch. So when she tutored this boy, she took an interest. She'd ask him what did he like best in school, what was his interest, summertime, what do you like to do for fun? And then she learned that the boy didn't know how to swim and had never been to a pool. Pathway, light bulb, my mother found her in. This is where she's going to make her difference, and that's really how she lived, making a difference, trying to make things better for others. So she talked to the foster parent or guardian, and not an easy feat, right? Convincing them to let their kid who can't swim spend an entire day with a stranger at a pool. But she couldn't take no for an answer, and this boy came to our swim club, and the family had the day with him, and she treated him like a king, and she wanted him to have a good memory. And by the end of the day, when his ride came to pick him up, Kid was smiles from ear to ear. And he didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay with my mother. And for my mother, that was mission accomplished. Making a difference any way she could. And that's who she was. Always optimistic, always looking for the good, always doing for others. So thank you, Mom, for showing us the way.
I'm Rachel. I'm the oldest grandchild. So I'm going to play a recording from her grandson Josh and her grandson Ethan, and then if it's okay, I'll say a few of my own words. Okay, so let's see.
Grandma always put others before herself. She shared lunches at the beach, hosted family gatherings and holidays, and lend a supportive ear whenever needed. Grandma has always been a role model, completed her college degree when she was told women shouldn't receive higher education, and continuing Torah study and completing a bat mitzvah later in life. Grandma made us laugh, taught us piano and art, and helped instill wholesome values in my life. Grandma, you'll be greatly missed, and I love you dearly.
Okay, that's from Ethan. Okay. This is a recording of her grandson Josh singing a song that she used to sing with all of us. I think probably also her children, right? And then grandchildren as well.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming out to celebrate the life of such a special human. I was lucky enough to grow up a few blocks from Grandma and Papa, which is a luxury that most grandkids don't really have. And I remember from an early age being just so enamored and captivated by her and Grandpa Norman. Their thick New York accents I found myself doing voice impressions of all the time, which eventually turned into a real knack I had for doing impressions, and other people in the family would ask me to do impressions. My favorite impression that we grew up doing was of her rendition of the song Tall Silk Hat, which was so enjoyed by my brothers and I that I don't think we could see Grandma for a couple of years without asking her to sing it every single time. Now I'm going to respectfully do a rendition of this song in her accent just to give you a peek into what I'm talking about. So here goes. A 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's all
Get that?
Oh.
Her rendition of the song Tall Silk Hat, which was so enjoyed by my brothers. This song in her accent was riding on the subway. My tall silk hat, my tall silk hat, my tall silk hat, my tall silk hat. Christopher Columbus, what do you think of that? A big fat lady sat upon my hat, my tall silk hat, my tall silk hat, my tall silk hat, my tall silk hat. Christopher Columbus, what do you think of that? Hey. So, a little side note, my brothers and I also thought she was saying tonsil cat for maybe a few years until we realized how impractical it would be for a fat woman to sit on a cat with enlarged tonsils. Grandma's accent wasn't only a catalyst for me having funny impressions, but she also really impacted my sense of taste, eclectic taste, in food, which has led me to Michelin star restaurants all around the world. Hey. Who could forget the famous bowl of Cheerios and orange juice we had for breakfast one morning after sleeping over? Or the famous Bubby pickles and...
Sorry. I think it's just that I need to touch. Okay. Sorry. Messing up my own job here.
Every single time. On my hat. Grandma's accent. One-star restaurants all around the world. Who could forget the famous bowl of Cheerios and orange? juice we had for breakfast one morning after sleeping over, or the famous Bubby pickles and chocolate milk combination. Clearly this was a pioneer in culinary innovation that I could take notes from. It led me to, in 6th grade, thinking about her creations and making a quesadilla with chocolate syrup to follow in her footsteps. Almost as soon as I pulled it out of the microwave, Pop-Up Norman walked in the door to see me eating a quesadilla with chocolate syrup and didn't say anything. I don't even think he blinked. I think he walked to the couch and acted like it was all normal because Grandma expressed that kind of creativity. On a serious note, her chicken noodle soup and tuna fish sandwiches were and continue to be the best I've ever had. Really, to know Grandma and to see her with Pop-Up, I got to see what true love was. I got to see what selflessness and empathy was. And I was fortunate enough to see my parents, to see what it meant to just be a good-hearted, genuine person that only meant well. And that's a personality that was just so conflicted with the self-serving, egotistical personas that are so often displayed on TV and movies, even when I was growing up. It brings me great peace to know that she's reunited with Pop-Up and Aunt Carol, and we have some pretty special angels watching over us. I wish I was there with all of you, but work is pretty relentless right now. I'm sending love to everyone listening, to my Klavens, Goldman, Dukowski, and Friedlander family. I miss you all so dearly. I look forward to all reuniting soon. And thank you for listening. We love you, Grandma Golda, so, 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 so much. Mwah.
Okay. So, probably all of you know I was raised in Golda's house during what my mom calls the time period of her second childhood, because she moved back in, and my grandma and grandpa took care of me like I was their own child. They paid for tap lessons and ballet lessons and piano lessons, and they took me on trips. At some point, my grandpa realized maybe I wanted a different color in my room. He painted the room pink. I wanted purple. I'm not sure why pink happened, but he still painted it. You know, he would always say, "This is your home. This is your home." So, thank you guys for doing that for me. Sorry, I just got sad when Josh was like they're all together now. That's my home. My home was my grandma, my grandpa, and my mom, and now they're all together somewhere. Anyways, my grandma was very brave. I vaguely remember a few times my mom had like a job interview in like Camden or Trenton, and she like brought my grandma along. As if like she could like protect her or something, but like I don't think my grandma was scared of people like that, like how my Uncle Jeff said. Like she just like saw the good, and Janet also said like she saw the good and the potential in everyone. She never got stuck in like a bad mood. Like my mom and I would be in bad moods like all the time, and like she was like, "Let's go do something, let's go to walk, let's go shopping." Like she was never in a bad mood. She never, even if she was like upset about something, she would just take her time. Like, I mean, that's what I saw at least in like she would just like, you know, go to the side or something, take her time, and she, like Angela said, she wouldn't interact with it, and when she was ready, she'd be back at like just making the best of every day. Really no day went to waste. She was always productive. I remember like our kitchen table just filled with like donation, I don't know what you call them, like solicitations from like every charity under the sun. And she didn't just throw them in the garbage. She like took each one really seriously and like gave to every single one. And you know, my mom used to say like grandma's rich and grandpa's poor. We don't know what reality is, you know. And she would just go up to grandpa and be like, "We have to, you know, save the whales or whatever. We have to save the children and wherever they are." And she, I think she really gave as much as she could to each organization. She fed everyone that walked through her door. First of all, she never said no for me to have a friend over. Like she always She always let me have friends over, and if they came over, they were getting fed. Even if it wasn't lunch or dinner time, she's like, "Do you want a full meal right now?" And when my mom moved out, we hired movers, and she like forced the movers to sit and eat a meal, like in the middle of them being paid per hour to move them all this stuff. She would like cut up fruits and vegetables all the time and just hand them to us because she knew that's how you eat fruits and vegetables. No one's gonna actually go in the fridge and cut them up and eat them. Like, she wanted us to be healthy. She loved reading. She gave me, I think she gave all of us that love of reading. She would read with like this beautiful cadence, and it just sounded so magical and so poetic. She would open a book like it was the most exciting and best thing ever, and she would read to me before I went to sleep. She was always flexible. Like, she didn't get like stuck in her ways ever. Like, a lot of people feel like it's hard to stay flexible and open, and she was always like that. She started keeping kosher. She learned how to read Hebrew after trying it like a million times and not being able to learn any other language, and then she learned it as a grandmother and got bat mitzvah. Okay, she told me she had her first Passover Seder. Should I tell him to bring her in? She told me she had her first Passover Seder at the Hillel in her college, and she didn't grow up with it, but then she always made one for her family. And yeah, she was always learning. I have this random memory telling her we need to check the mezuzahs like in our house, and she said, where is that written? I never heard of that. And I was like, do you really want to see where it's written? She's like, yeah. So I like took out a book and showed her, and she's like, okay, we'll do it. Like, she read about it, she was like, yeah. She always wanted to know the meaning of the prayers, like whatever we would like say, like sing on Friday night or something. She would like I was singing in Hebrew, she would like sing to the same tune in English. Or she would make me, like if I said something in Hebrew, she'd say, okay, now in English, what does it mean? She always wanted to understand. She tried to keep the family together very much. I remember, I can just hear her saying to my grandfather, pick up the phone and call your whoever, you know, like she wanted us to stay together. I think she could turn people, like, nobody didn't like her. She was like the nicest person in the world. Like, someone that hated her, she could like make her like them. She would just like be nice to them back. And the last thing I had written down, I remember we had a day in elementary school when you could like bring a kind of a chaperone for like a special day at school. So she came in for me. I mean, they were always like that. Like, they helped my mom so much. My grandfather like went to my parent-teacher conferences with my mom. And so she came in, and she was like it was like Gentle Ben Day. That was the book we read, and everything was brown and about bears and I don't know what. And I saw her helping this kid in my class who was not the brightest, or at least that's how people saw him. Nobody, I don't think any teacher told him he was bright or smart. And I heard my grandmother say to him, "You're so smart. I see why you did the problem that way. I see the way you're thinking about it. That's not the right answer, but I see how smart you are. And and I had never, I was like, oh, no one calls him smart. Like, but my grandmother thought everyone was smart. And she, even in her Alzheimer's, she was telling that fake dog it was smart. She really believed that everyone is smart. Everyone has their own special gifts and talents and way of seeing the world, and like Aunt Janet said, no one's wrong. Everyone has their own perspective, and thank you, Grandma, for everything. And I don't know, I guess we'll all meet again someday. Thank you.
In the rising of the sun and in its going down, you'll remember her. In the blowing of the wind And in the chill of winter, you'll remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, you'll remember her. When you are weary and in need of strength. When you are lost and sick at heart. When you have joys you yearn to share, you'll remember her. So long as you live, she too shall live. For Golda is now a part of you as you remember her. Please rise. El Moerachamim Shochem Bamromim Amitze Melucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina Im Kedoshim Uteorim Kizoar Harakia Masirim Et Nishmat Golda Bat Kashka V'Emanuel Shalcha L'Olamah Barachamim Yastivrei HaBaset Kanfal V'Lamim V'Yitzro V'Yitzro Hachayim Et Nishmata Adonai Unachlata V'Tanuach B'Shalom Mishkava V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Golda who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, protection under the shadow of your wings. Let Golda's soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God, you are Golda's inheritance. May she rest in peace. We all say together, Amen. Please be seated.
Could we please have the pallbearers to the silver honor? I would ask if you would kindly rise once more.